custom assignable buttons, mute groups, and DCAs. Let's talk about that. I was gonna make this video a week ago, but I didn't have any electricity in this place, and I need electricity to turn on the mixer, right? Mind-blowing, I know. But anyway, user assignable buttons. I feel like not a lot of people use them, maybe because they don't know how to set them up, but they are extremely handy, especially when the full board is loaded up and you need quick access to certain channels or certain effects or whatever. And in a live situation, you don't really have time to go through pages and search for things. So let's dive into it. The assign section has 3 pages, A, B, C. Each page has 4 knobs, 8 buttons, and this is how I would set it up. So how would you know which button does what? You look at the screen, the bottom line indicates what the bottom button does. The line above it indicates what the button above it does, and the top line indicates what the knob does. I personally wouldn't change the A page because it's actually quite useful, and I'll go through it with you, but I'll show you an example of how I might set up the B page and the C page. If you look at the screen, the first line on the bottom says effects 1, which means if I click this button on the bottom, it shows me the effect on slot number 1, which is a reverb. Second line says effects 1 left mute, which means this button will mute this effect. And although it says left, this is a stereo effect, so it doesn't really matter. It will mute both channels. And this mute is not on the send, it's on the returns. So if I go to the effect returns and click it, it's muting these. Okay, now the knob says decay, effects 1 decay, which means it's controlling the decay time or the length of the reverb if I turn it. Second knob and buttons, same thing, shows me the effect number 2, same thing, mutes effect number 2, and the knob is also for the decay time. 3, same thing. So you're going in columns. This shows me the effect number 3. Now this shows me the effect number 8, but I will do this on the B page. I'm not gonna use that for now. Back to the third effect. This is the tap tempo. If you look here, it says time. So if I tap on this, it will change the time of the delay, depending on how fast or slow I tap on it. You can also change it from here. Now I'll set up the B page to show me graphic EQs that I put on stage monitors and the main speakers, for example. Right now, by default, it's showing me the meters and the threshold of compressors and the auto group X and Y. This is a auto mixer functionality, which means if you're doing a podcast, not really a podcast, you wouldn't use this mixer for a podcast, but for example, a talk show where you have a group of people on this side, another group on the other side. So you assign all of these to one group and all of the others to the other group, and whoever is louder turns the other down. Anyway, on effects 5, 6, 7, 8, I have graphic equalizers. So I will go to the assign section, click on the view button to go to this page. Then I will go to the set B, which is the second page. Button number 5, I will go to jump to page, then effect, and jump to the effect number 5. Now if I go to set B and click button number 5, it will show me the graphic equalizer. And I will set all of these, 5, 6, 7, 8, to show me these graphic EQs. These. And now I'll set up the C page to quickly show me the fader mute of important channels. If you're doing church sound, for example, that might be the microphone of your pastor or the computer audio or whatever channel you need to access very quickly. So now I will go to the set C and I will set the first encoder to be the fader of channel, for example, 28. So I'll go here, encoder number 1, and fader channel number 28. And now this, if you go to channel 28, it's right here. If I turn this knob, it will move the fader. Okay, now button number 5, which is underneath it. Button number 5, you can also change the colors of the LEDs. Button number 5, I will set it to mute and channel number 28. So if I now press this button, wow. So now if I press on this button, it will mute channel 28. Now for the last button, I will assign it to show me something on channel 28. So this is button number 9. I'll go here, button 9, jump to page, channel, and I can set it to show me the compressor or the EQ, then select the channel, number 28. And now if I press here, it will show me the EQ on channel number 28, no matter what I have selected on the mixer. Before I move on to DCAs and mute groups, you can also assign these buttons to load scenes and snippets, which is extremely useful if you're doing something like a theatrical play where a lot of things change between one scene and another. But I'll talk about that in the next video. That's going to be all about scenes, snippets, and effect presets, how to save them and load them. And now let's jump into DCAs. A VCA is a voltage controlled amplifier on analog consoles. On digital consoles, it's called a DCA because it's a digitally controlled amplifier. It's like an auxiliary bus, but not really. It has very limited functionality. The only thing it can do is raise and lower the overall volume of certain channels that are assigned to it, and it can also mute the sound of these channels. To assign channels to a DCA, you're gonna select that DCA and hold down the select button. Then you're gonna select the channels, and now the overall volume of these channels is controlled by that fader. However, if you're running a firmware that is 4.0 or 4.02 and higher, you have something called DCA Spill, which is really cool. If you hold down, I'm gonna select channel 13 and 16, and I'm gonna select channels 32 and 29. I release. Now, if I click on this button once, it will only show me these channels, which is 13, 16, 29, and 32. These are the channels I selected to be assigned to that DCA. And that's really cool, because you can just focus on the channels you want to deal with and not have to search for them. Now, mute groups. Why are they even here? You can mute from the DCA, right? Well, sometimes you don't want to mute all the channels in the DCA. You want to mute certain channels from DCA 1, certain channels from DCA 5, certain channels that don't belong to a DCA. To assign channels to a mute group, you're gonna go here, click on the mute groups button, then go back here, press and hold on one of them, and you're gonna select the channels that you want to belong to that mute group, and then release your finger and make sure to unclick this. Now, if I click here, these channels will get muted. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like to help it spread to more people. And if you want to learn how to set up the user assignable buttons to load scenes and snippets, click here. If you want to learn how to do live reverb ducking on this console, click here, and I'll see you in the next video.